Hey, it's your open source advocate, and I am back. I had a request this week for a coverage on Sandstorm, so I figured I'd do that. I looked into it. It's pretty cool. Sandstorm is an open source platform for self-hosting web apps. So I do a lot of these videos. I've done a lot. I'll continue doing them. And I love to self-host my own things. I love to be in control of my own data and my own servers. Sandstorm kind of went the extra mile and said, hey, we know you want to do this, and we're going to make it a little bit easier for you, and they really have. So what it is it's actually a platform that kind of encompasses other platforms, I guess you'd say. So Sandstorm, they have what they call grains, like grains of sand. And so just like DigitalOcean has droplets, so you run Sandstorm, which is a platform in and of itself, and I run it on DigitalOcean, so I'm going to end up with mud, I guess, since I'm running sand and water. But so you run Sandstorm on DigitalOcean, and then in Sandstorm is the ability to have applications that get run inside of it, and each application is called a grain. So it's pretty easy to set up. I'm going to go here and just kind of show you what I've got. So I've actually got it running. This is Sandstorm here, just kind of running already, and it's got RocketChat, which I've done a video on before, which is really an awesome online communication system that competes really well with Slack and Teams and all the others. In fact, I kind of prefer it to Slack. I really like RocketChat a lot. And then we've got Etherpad, which is for collaborative document editing. So you can use this, and as you add other users, they could be in here, and you could both be making edits and seeing those edits show up in real time. They've got hacker slides, which is kind of cool. So over here on the left, you'll see what the different slides are, and they're separated by these little hashes. And then if you go down here, you've got controls, and you can see what happens as you go through the slides. And what happens is you use Markdown to set up your slides, and it gives you a pretty nice looking slides there. And then you can go into presentation mode to kind of put them full screen. And then finally here I've got one that's called File Drop, so I just dropped in a little bash script that I've got here that somebody could then go and get. And if you click here, you get a download link. So it's got, document sharing, it's got document storage, it's got all kinds of things that you can add. So I'm just going through the app first. I'll go through the install here in just a minute. It's not that difficult. So here you can see the grains that I have, and as you click on these things, it brings you to that grain. It opens up the one that you've got there, and it'll start running. So they're not always here like this, so you can close these out. And now I've just got the RocketChat grain running. But if I go here and I say, oh, I need to go back into Hacker Slides, I just click it, and it'll bring it over and load it up for me, and I can start working and adding information to slides. And then you can just switch back and forth between the ones that you've got running over here on the left. So it's pretty straightforward to use. As far as apps go, so these are kind of the apps that I've got, and apps that they kind of pre-install, quote unquote. So you grab one of these apps. So if I wanted MeCan, this is a Kanban board system, it shows up and you get this, just add the app. It'll do some basic setup for you, and in just a minute it should pop up here where we can start using MeCan, or WeCan I believe it is. Sorry, I'm getting them confused. Yeah, so now we can just add something that we need to do. So fix a bug in Vector. I can hit that, and this is my column title. Now I can add a bug to my list here, and I can say don't prompt to fix WireGuard install. Move prompt to set up server info. I can say add, and now I've got this little card, and then I can add a column that says in progress, and then so on and so forth, and I can move this through the process here. So actually in progress should be in front of this one, so you can just drag things around, and you can drag your tasks across the board as you get going. So you could put QA, pretty straightforward. Now if I want apps that aren't listed here, you can click on the little plus, and it's going to take you to their online app store basically. And you can see there's quite a few apps here that you could get and actually put into use. So you just have to dig through and see which ones you're interested in. So they do have this one here that's for like drawing, draw.io. You can do diagrams and things like that online. It's pretty cool. It helps whenever you're trying to make out flowcharts, stuff like that. Sand forms, so you can build your online forms pretty easily. Probably something a bit like Google Forms, I would guess. Run a survey. And again, you can just look at all these things and see what's here. So there's quite a few things here. There were a few that were kind of interesting to me. So as you look through here, you can see all of the different options that they've got. They've got a few that are for Git. They've got Mercurial. They've got quite a few things here that you could actually set up your own servers and just use it all right through Sandstorm. So I want to add something here just so you can see what happens when you grab one that's not part of it. So we'll add paperwork. I think this is a note-taking type app. So it's going to say it's downloading, and it's unpacking it, and it's going to go through the process here, and then it says, do you want to install it? Yep, let's install it. And then you want to create a new notebook. Yes, so we're going to start it up here. I haven't used paperwork in a long time, but I remember it's pretty kind of nifty, I believe. Yeah, here we go. So here's the welcome to paperwork. So this is a notes app that you basically create note cards, and you can add notes here, and you can add to-dos and all kinds of things to it. It's pretty nice. So it's one that I haven't really covered yet as far as hosting it yourself. So being able to set it up that quickly within Sandstorm is pretty great. So I've showed you how Sandstorm works. Let's kind of get into making Sandstorm actually get installed. So I'm here on DigitalOcean. You can see here's what I have set up. You don't actually need this URL. I didn't realize that when I started, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go to create a droplet, just like we do every time. And I did use the $10 droplet, so that's running on the $10 droplet. So I'm going to leave it on Ubuntu. I'm going to leave it on standard. I'm going to jump over here to the left, pick the $10 droplet. Keeps picking San Francisco this week. That's fine. It's close to, I'm right between New York and San Francisco, so anywhere's fine with me. I'll leave it on actually my SSH keys, and I'll just pick this one. And then I'll go here and I'll put ss.opensourceisawesome.com. That's fine. And then I'll go down here and hit create. So as always, DigitalOcean is going to go out there and spin up this virtual Ubuntu server for me. And it just takes, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, not that long, sometimes not even that long. Once it gets done, what we're going to do is we're going to grab that IP address and we're going to log in to that server, and then we're going to basically update the server, run a command. So the same kind of steps that we do every time. You always want to update the server first, make sure that if it gets any kind of kernel updates, you reboot the server. So we've got the IP address. Let's go open up our terminal. And we'll do SSH root at the IP address. And then, of course, it's going to ask us about the fingerprint here in a minute, or it should. Oops, maybe it's not up yet. I'm too quick. Let's try it one more time. There we go. Yes, we want to log in. And we're going to do sudo apt update and ampersand sudo apt upgrade, and then we'll do -y so it doesn't prompt us about the upgrade part, and we'll let that run through. Again, this takes 30 seconds, 45 seconds. So from creation of the actual droplet to the time that it finishes doing its updates and the time it takes you to reboot for another 20 seconds, I mean, you're talking 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. I mean, that's pretty impressive when you think about how long it takes to set up any other kind of server. I mean, I know people who set up Windows servers, and it takes them days to set up a Windows server. It's insane how much time it takes. So that I get this done in 2.5 minutes is impressive. See, this is what I mean. So when you get these kind of things where you have to say, yes, do this, and it installs a new kernel module, things like that, that's where you kind of want to reboot in the middle, just to make sure that everything gets picked up with the new kernel module versions. So once it finishes, we'll do sudo reboot. So that'll boot us out of the server, which we expect. And then we'll get ready to get back in it here in a minute. So while we're waiting on that to just reboot real quick, we'll jump over here to the Sandstorm site. So if you go to the Get Started and you kind of keep following those pages, you'll find that there is a place to just grab this, download it, and run the installer. And it's just a simple bash script. And you download the bash script and then you pipe it into the bash command so that it runs. So we'll copy that, go back to our terminal. We'll log back into our server. Everything's up and running, and then we're going to just paste in that command. We're going to hit enter. It's going to bring that down, and it's going to ask us a question right off the bat. So how are we going to use this? And it says right here above it what your options are. So I'm just going to do a typical install. I'm not doing development. And then the next one is, it's going to do these things. Just be aware of the things that it's about to do, which is fine. So am I ready to continue? Yes. And then we want to, so this is why you don't have to set up the URL that we normally do over like on Hover. In this case, Sandstorm has something that they host, so you can kind of tell it what you want it to be called. So I'm going to do open source IA, because I did OSIA a while ago. Just hit enter and it'll grab that name. It wants your email address when you do this. So I'm going to do brian@fixitdelrio.com. They're going to go out and generate some certificates. I don't believe it's using Let's Encrypt. It's using something different. So just takes a minute for those to get generated, and then it will continue with the installation. And it's going to check some fingerprints and let you know that everything looks good on the hash, which is good. And basically it's done. So it spits a lot of information out here right here at the end. So right here it says your server is now online. It should work immediately if you use Chrome, so just be aware of that. If you bring it up in Firefox and something doesn't work, they're telling you, hey, if you use Chrome, it should come up. I did it a while ago in Firefox and it worked fine. So this link is what you have to click. So this URL expires in 15 minutes, so they're telling you, here's how you can regenerate it. So if you don't get to it in 15 minutes for some reason, you can recreate it again. So this is kind of how you set it up the first time and get the admin account and everything set up. So I'm just going to hold down the control key, and then I'm going to click on this link. That's going to open it up here in Firefox, and it's going, and it just says, do you want to do this? So yes, we do. Alright, the first screen we come to here is basically just a setup screen. So it's telling us, welcome to Sandstorm. We're just going to click here. Basically wants us to run through some processes, so you can set up different things for authentication. I've already set up my GitHub for the previous authentication, so I'm going to set up an email domain here. So we'll just click on configure. So it wants us to do the email delivery information, and we'll have to do that here in the next step. So we'll just hit next. So you have a few options. So you can use your email for getting this set up, or you can use Google Apps to do that, or you can do an LDAP or SAML, just depending on what you need for your organization. Your organization settings, so just allow collaboration with users outside the organization. So if you're just using this for internal, you might want to check that box. I'm just going to leave it unchecked. And then make all organization users visible to each other. That seems like pretty sensible, so we'll just move forward. So my SMTP host is, and it's, and then finally, I can't use anonymous things. I don't have my server set up that way. And then we can test this. So it's trying to send a test email using my server. We can actually go and check that. And there we go. We got it. Close that and we'll move forward. Everything there looks good. So here I need to create an account. So they're going to send me a token. Oh, somehow I clicked up on the Chrome browser. Let's go back. They're going to send me a token, so I need to watch for that. Here we go. So you grab this token, you just paste it into the system, and then hit confirm. So you can use a different picture. I don't actually have a picture on my system, but you can use a picture for your account. You can update your name. Sounds good. So it tells us all the steps are done. Our Sandstorm server is now ready. Just click here and we can start adding apps. So it starts off empty. You can kind of see here that it's a little bit empty, and there's collections. There's other things that we can do. So I can create a new collection of applications so that I'm kind of separating those out into groups. If we go back, it gives you a little bit, it gives you some nice helper text as you go along, so that's why it was kind of grayed out over the top and highlighting this section. So let's go to their store, and right off the bat let's just add RocketChat. Okay. We're going to create a new grain here, so it sets up RocketChat for us. Let's close that. Let's open it again. So let's see if we can create an Etherpad grain. I'm going to reboot this server. I'm going to try this Etherpad grain again and see if it'll come up. It's not coming up. I'm just going to delete it. Let's go back to our app. See, the app images aren't loading. That causes me concern. The first time I ran this, everything kind of came up and loaded on its own. So let's try RocketChat one more time. Give it a few seconds here to see if it'll come up. It really didn't take long the first time that I did it. Each app that I added just kind of came up on its own. So I'm a little bit disappointed here because this is actually the third time that I've done this now, and the second time and third time I've had some pretty major issues and errors. The first time it was really simple, straightforward, came up fine, no problems. But now I'm getting a little bit discouraged here. I'd hate to suggest this and you guys go out and have these kind of problems and not realize that it isn't quite as easy as I thought it was the very first time. I would hope that you had the same experience that I had the first time, but so far it's not making me feel confident that it's going to happen. So still, this is not bringing up what I expect, so I'm just going to kill it. I'm going to call it done. I think Sandstorm has some pretty cool stuff. They have some cool ideas. Maybe I'm trying to run it on too small of a droplet, but like I said, the first time I did it, it ran fine and everything came up and it started very easily. So I don't know why it's different now, but yeah, I'd have a hard time suggesting this just out of the gate. You might want to put it on something a little bit more beefy than one of those $10 droplets and see if that works for you. But be aware, I've had a couple of issues now. Could be something totally on my side, but I've done everything exactly the same 3 times, and 2 out of 3 times I've had pretty big fails here. So, you know, if you feel like going out and giving it a shot, and you've got 25 minutes to look at it, it might be totally worth your time. Give it a shot. Thanks. If you like this video, if it's useful to you, please like and subscribe. If you saw something that I didn't do well or didn't do right, send me a message. I'll try to fix it and update the video in the future.